Hi, I'm Ed Merrison from CellarHand. I'm here in the vineyard with Paul Scorpo, up in Merricks North on the family property here. We've been taking a look at Paul's 2020 releases from the specific vineyard selections that he has up here. So that's 2 Pinot Noir wines, 1 Chardonnay. The one that I have in my hand here is the Eocene 2020 Pinot Noir. Always worth a look at the lovely artworks that adorn Paul's labels. And the subheading on here is Single Vineyard Mature Wines Original Planting. So this is 1997, is it not, that you got these vines in the ground?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the genesis of this vineyard then.
So we bought the property in 1996. It had been an apple and cherry orchard, but by 83 they'd stopped they stopped farming it and took out most of it. There must have been a problem with selling what they were doing. So when I came here, most of the top area between the old cherry orchard and where we're standing at the moment was all self-sown pine trees, which took us 3 months to get rid of.
Right.
We put in a dam and we procured vines, and I was very lucky to get the help of some of the local winemakers to procure the vines, and a friend, Merrison, helped me also. And at that time, the favourite clone, the favourite in terms, the whole thing was to find a place where I could make the best Pinot that I could possibly grow and turn into wine that was full of flavour and would age beautifully and be balanced. And I thought that this site would do it.
Yeah. Well, we've got a few things on our site here as well. Just to put a little bit of this into context, we've got Paul's Pinot Gris mostly growing on a ridge the other side of here.
On the southwest side.
On the southwest side. And then coming down here, we've got a block of slightly sloped soil here, which is the old cherry orchard. We've talked about that Pinot Noir separately, a very special Pinot from high density planted able clone vines. And then we come to this bit here. It's about 180 meters, I'm told, from top to bottom, 10% slope.
Yep.
On these Eocene soils.
Eocene older volcanic soils, yeah.
So all of that key, the north-east facing.
Northeast, yes. Yeah. So these rows face north-south, but the actual it's a north-northeast. It's about 18 degrees off north.
Yeah.
To the northeast. So it really gets the morning sun, and that slope helps mitigate against the heat of the afternoon sun.
Yeah. It must also give you quite a lot to play with, because as I said, we've got long rows here, and you tell me these Eocene volcanics, they change quite a lot as you go across the vineyard and down the hill as well.
Yeah. Look, but they're subtle changes. But I could make, off this 4 acres, I could make 4 different wines.
Yeah.
That's how distinguishing they can be. Which is like in Burgundy, on a 3-4 acre site, you've got 5 or 6 different wines sometimes.
Yeah, well, that sort of plays into your hands, I guess, dear drinker, because that means that the Pinot Noir that Paul calls his estate wine, that comes roughly 80% in a normal year, might come from these MV6 plantings from 1997, supplemented with the lovely fruit from the able clone just up here in the cherry orchard. So a lot of inherent complexity there, and also, as we've just talked about, wonderful conditions for growing good Pinot Noir. But to get back to this specific bottling, this 2020 Eocene Pinot Noir, so MV6, kind of the signature grape of the peninsula. What is it that makes it really chime with the Mornington Peninsula and chime with drinkers?
Well, it's an exceptional. It was referred to as black clusters.
Yeah. And
it's been in Australia for a long time, 1820s or something like that. And it came from a distinguished vineyard, Clos de Vougeot, the biggest Grand Cru vineyard in Burgundy. And it very miserly producer. We've rarely had it up to 2 tons to the acre. The 2020 had 1 ton to the acre.
So we're talking usually pretty tight, small.
Well, this year is the smallest we've ever had. the average weight of the bunches was 30 grams.
Ooh.
30 grams.
Yeah.
That was the average weight. This year we got 700 kilos to the acre, and it was, you know, that was 1,000 kilos to the acre, and the bunches were quite small. They were quite small because we'd had horrible winds at efflorescence stage, and then rain during flowering and fruit set.
Yeah.
But as I was saying before about the old cherry orchard, the longest ripening that it had, that you know, we've ever had.
Yeah. So you picked these grapes again, really late March.
No, they were picked in April.
They were picked in April for this vineyard,
for
right?
This one, yeah.
Yeah, right. So just put
Bit
that in
later.
context.
This is a bit later. Usually at least a week later than the.
So the cherry orchard
April.
was around 27th of March,
Yeah,
I think, in 2020.
I forget. I might have been the 4th of April. I can't remember.
And to put that into context, then this year the fruit here came off. We're currently the mid-April today, the 17th of sorry.
This
17th of
came
March.
off last Friday. So last Friday was the 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it came off on a very important day.
Yeah. What was that?
Oh, just a family, family thing.
Okay, so from this wine then, from the MV6 clone 1997 plantings, as I said, a lot of this fruit will be used for the estate wine, which is why that wine has such wonderful pedigree. This one, though, the very, very best of the original planting, makes the Eocene wine. So what should we expect when we sit down and have a glass of this wine? What are we expecting?
Well, it's got a lot of drive, this wine, and the tannins are firmer than they would be with the able. The ables are sort of finer tannins, but these are firmer, but still really silky.
Yeah.
And the structure is different. It's the phenolics and the structure is there's a complexity there that I really like.
Yeah.
This is more dark fruits, so you know you're into raspberries and then mulberries and cherries, whereas the able that we were talking about before is more red fruits.
Yeah.
But it's really the tannic structure that gives it its character.
Yeah.
And they're sort of they're more they're graphite-y, lovely graphite tannins in there. And,
yeah.
And you know, already I'm seeing, it's only 2020, but it's really they're starting to sort of form. You can already see a change in the structure of the tannins forming. They're starting to join together and become really silky and wonderfully textured in the mouth.
Yeah, and from in my experience, a wine that all that sort of that density or that structure, that structural strength, kind of sneaks up on you as well. So it's got the subtlety, but just a different presentation from that more, I suppose, seductive presentation of the able clone. Here you've got that subtle build of power and that that lovely thing that we find in Mornington Peninsula wines. You do have that generosity, but bound with some really, really nice
and really layered.
Yeah.
So you can during the course of a meal you'll see all sorts of things come through. Lovely spice, and different to the old cherry orchard.
Yeah.
So the more exotic spice in this than there is in the cherry orchard, which is there's also we get lots of mushrooms on this property. There's always a mushroom element in there as well. So and wonderful earthiness to them.
Yeah, you're making me quite hungry and quite thirsty at the same time. So that is the 2020 Eocene Pinot Noir from Paul Scorpo here, out and about now. I hope you can track it down. I'm sure that's made you very tempted to try both this and the other single block wines that Paul has produced. Thank you.
Thanks.